Oh, we're gonna wait for it to warm up.
What exactly are we waiting to warm up?
I suppose we're waiting on the amount of people to come.
I have to be hot and bothered for it to. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Now we have people. Okay. Cool. So we have people now. Let me get the YouTube channel link. Let me get the YouTube channel link live. Okay. Here we go. Share. Copy. Okay. I know, Pat. There. Okay. All right. So, Sarah, please start.
All right. So I guess this is a concept that I've kind of been digging into a bit over the past month, maybe more. And it kind of, some of it kind of got built on a little bit more from the topic on the 10th about conditional love. So you've all heard the expression when you're like expressing devotion for somebody where you would say, I would die for this person, right?
Right.
So what about the concept that you would live for that person? And that's the concept that I've been exploring, because I've come out of a relationship that at one point I felt like I would die for this person, which is like an expression of being willing to make sacrifice. But now I'm exploring the idea of doing the harder thing, which is being willing to live.
For yourself.
Yeah. Finding people that make me want to live for myself. So that's why I had kind of put that word out there in terms of sacrifice and, you know, what that means versus what that means in context of a relationship, and also what the flip side of that would be in terms of showing up for yourself.
So I think I'm just going to speak first to this, and then we can go around the table. But I think there's a concept of identity versus expectation. And so living authentically often means confronting family, culture, workplace expectations that may clash with your gender identity or even your orientation. And so that sacrifice isn't just personal. It can involve relinquishing, you know, like as a white trans woman, male privilege. You have to let that go if you are going to gender transition. And so the comfort of fitting into a prescribed script, you know, all to claim that truth feels essential as a result. So, Onyx, your thoughts?
Sacrifice, I'm going to bring it to something a little bit personal, well, a lot personal. And for me, sacrifice means going against sacrifice for my family, me and Egg, meant not having children. And the sacrifice part was on Egg's side, where I didn't want children, and we talked about it. And at that point, she didn't want children either. So fast forward to 2018, when I scheduled my orchiectomy and did not bank sperm. So the sacrifice on both of our parts is that we don't have children. It is a sore spot, one that we briefly touch on whenever we talk about, and then quickly change the subject. It's definitely, yeah, it's definitely a sacrifice on her part, because she really, really, really wanted children. But she didn't tell me ahead of time. And the sacrifice on my part is that, yeah, I wanted children too, but not as bad as her. And now that I'm at this stage of my life, I would like a child, I would like, and it doesn't have to be a biological child. That ship has sailed. So, the problem is they make adopting too expensive, and we just don't have money like that. So yet again, there's another sacrifice in terms of our familial structure and setup. In terms of gender and expression and sexuality, there is a lot of sacrifice there too. Being in a monogamous relationship, one where one person is strictly monogamous and the other person may not be so, is a little hard. There is sacrifice required on both sides. More so my side than her side, but each one of us has made sacrifices in our relationship to keep the other happy and to keep the relationship going.
Brandon.
Yeah, I was just thinking a bit. I was in a relationship where I loved I loved my boyfriend enough that I would die for him. I would have. And he ended up dying, but I would have made those I would have made sacrifices for him. I would have moved away from my family and probably cut off a lot of them. More their choice than it would have been mine, because they wouldn't have agreed with me being in a relationship with another guy. And but I do make sacrifices for them, though, because I continue to go to family dinners and things and have a relationship without kind of being open about my sexuality. And
is that a form of or love?
I didn't hear the first word cut off. I didn't.
Oh, masking. Are you
right?
masking?
Yeah.
Is it self-preservation?
Right. I mean, some people might look at it as lying in a way, because you are not completely being yourself, or you're hiding something from a person, and that in a way that could be seen as lying by omission. But I don't know, that's kind of a gray area, but I don't see it as lying. I see it as just, there's there's a point where you have an expectation of privacy. You know, you don't go around talking to everyone about every part of your life. You know, when a person you meet, you don't just blurt out how many times a week you have sex or who you have sex with or those kinds of things, because they don't need to know that. But that's not lying, is it? It's not, even though you're omitting part of your life. So I feel like it's kind of my family. I don't feel like they need, or in a way, they don't deserve to know certain parts of my life. And I don't feel like I need to include them in that. And in a way, it's a little bit of a sacrifice. I don't know if I would want to talk so much about it. I mean, I'm not going to, right now, I'm not in a relationship. So there's not much to talk about. I mean, I'm not going to talk about being on Grindr or anything and talking about hooking up with guys or anything like that. It's not something I would, even if I were straight, that's not something I would discuss with my family. I mean, some people are very open with theirs, and if they want to talk about that, that's fine. But as our family, no, we did not. We don't talk that way. We're not that open with each other about those kinds of things. You know, growing up, we weren't overly affectionate with each other, physically or emotionally. We didn't talk much about our feelings and express them a lot. So, I don't know if that part of it is so much a sacrifice, but also I'm kind of sacrificing by living where I am. I guess this is not so much with my sexuality, but I enjoy what I'm doing, and I guess part of it is because I'm writing about the queer experiences, and in mostly a more humorous way. And I want to continue doing that. But right now, I can't afford to go somewhere in a larger city or something like, because of the rent is so ridiculous. And right now I'm living pretty cheaply, and that allows me to continue doing what I'm doing. There are drawbacks to both things. I lived in a bigger city. I might be part of a queer community more easily. I would more often go to clubs or whatever and meet more people and that kind of thing. But I would have to get a different kind of job to where I would be living in that area, you know. So I think we all kind of sacrifices in different ways as far as that.
You know, I wanted to kind of jump back on the sacrifice. Would you die for somebody? And my answer is, yeah, I would die for Egg. I would die for my bestie, you know, my bestie's girls. But then comes my blood family. And then I'm like, well, okay, so my parents, yeah, maybe. But, you know, me and my parents are not as close as well, I don't know if we've ever been close, but the idea of making that ultimate sacrifice is something that I can say, yes, I would do. But like when the moment comes down to it, am I really ready to do that? You know, is anybody ever really ready to do that without saying it, but actually doing it, you know?
So my second point to this is something you're going to want to comment on based on that. But I want to wait for Sarah to provide her input before I say anything about it.
I mean, my input was just that I was coming out of a relationship that I very much felt like I would have died for him. And looking back, I've sacrificed a lot, and then that would end up bringing me to my other point, like my next point, which would be healthy sacrifice versus unhealthy sacrifice in regards to relationships.
So in that relationship, do you still care about him, and would you still sacrifice? Would you still die for him?
I do still care about him. I have actively been avoiding interaction because I wouldn't sacrifice as much now as I would have then.
Is it that you're divorcing yourself in more ways than one?
I mean, I would say yes, but also I'm realizing a lot of things about a relationship that were just so unhealthy for me.
Right.
And I'm trying to keep myself from proximity to situations that would cause me to fall back into it.
So there's an issue with that, or there's an issue I'm required to bring up because of that, and that's emotional labor.
Mm-hmm.
There is emotional labor, and when, for an exemplification of this, is constantly coming out.
Yes.
You know, that forces us to constantly educate, negotiate, and often even further still defend ourselves. And when
Right.
you contrast that against realizing what is healthy versus unhealthy. So, Sarah, let me ask you a question. You came out to this person. Did you feel you had to educate the person, negotiate with the person, or defend yourself to the person, or all three of
Yes.
them?
The short answer is yes.
And I can't even say that I fully came out to this person because all we got as far as me coming out was to sexuality. We didn't even get to the gender identity. He has no idea about that. He doesn't even know that there's yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say this. I don't understand how he can't see that. But let me say this: the emotional energy that we spend on Honest is going to agree with me on this, I'm pretty sure. I've given the Trans 101 class thousands and thousands of times.
Yep.
And explaining terminology and dispelling myths, or calming anxious people that has an emotional hidden cost. I can't tell you the number of times, for instance, that I've had to educate people when somebody asked me, "What's in your panties?"
God.
Because I have had to answer that question 1,000 times with none ya. None ya fucking business.
Right. You know, it's kind of funny. I don't have like in real life queer friendship group, but online I get that question from guys a lot, and I'm sure Wendy, you get it from guys too. But it's mainly the guys. You know, they're like really like I'm just like you know, there's another way you could have come at me. You know, rather than hey, what's up? You trans? You know, what you got going on down there? You know, you still got your, well, you know, it's just the same shit, different story, different day.
It's hard to imagine that somebody even asking that. It's
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, it goes through their heads. I know.
It seems so inappropriate.
I know. Well, I tried to think of like what could they possibly me that's like similar, and I'm like how big mine is or something like that. Like what size is how many inches is it or something like that. I'm like, because that's completely inappropriate. A stranger coming up to you and asking you something like that. That's like nobody does that. So why would they? I don't know.
I think it's too much like online porn. Seriously, trans porn. And they're just like automatic, you know? It's like automatic now.
I have to say, I'm going to make this parallel. By the way, I want to point this out, and Brandon, you're going to find this funny. Most women, so you know how like most guys think watching lesbian pornography is hot, right? So most of the girls I know think watching gay porn is hot as fuck.
Definitely. All my girlfriends that I know watch gay porn.
Gay porn, 100%. But, you know, here's the thing. Porn has destroyed the sexual bravado and nature of relationships. Guys think that you fuck girls like you watch on porn. In the same capacity, guys think that all trans women have gigantic dicks, big fucking honker boobs, and they only want it in the back door. It's like, oh my God. And all guys, all heterosexual, toxically masculine heterosexual guys think that it's okay to ask a lesbian couple if they can watch.
Right.
Which is bullshit. In the same contrast, gay people, and I've witnessed countless gay men experience this, straight people walk up and go, so are you the woman or are you the man in the relationship?
Right.
Yes, exactly. Which one of you's the which one of you's the woman? Neither.
And that stereotype exists. Like there for such a long time, there was that belief that all gay men were effeminate.
Right.
And that masculinity in gay relationships did not exist. And that's a total fucking lie. I mean, 100%. There are gay men I know who are more masculine than some straight guys I know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So then that begs the question, Sarah, has the process been has had an emotional laboring toll on you as a person? Because you're early in your experience.
I think my focus has been more on the emotional labor that I'm coming away from. And like there's been so many experiences in the recent past where it's just been reaffirming that I am making the right choice as far as at the very bare minimum getting out of the relationship. And so a lot of that has to do with the emotional labor that I've been doing through the past 22 years without realizing I was doing it.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, it's like intimacy redefinition. That's another issue. That's another sacrifice you make is intimacy redefinition.
I haven't allowed there to be any kind of intimate conversation or anything, because the last time that occurred, there was far too much physical intimacy than I was comfortable with.
Okay, why?
Why? Because he surprised me with a hug, and I was not prepared for any kind of physical contact.
Well, that's fair.
And
valid.
how did you feel about that?
I think we talked about this before. I felt violated.
As you should.
Definitely.
But every time we have any kind of open or intimate or vulnerable conversation, he either uses that opportunity to say something triggering or does something after the fact within the next 24 hours, like that evening or the next morning, that basically just sets everything back to ground zero. So it doesn't really give me a whole lot of desire to continue those conversations with him.
Well, I mean, why would you? If you were, there's not a reason to continue to have those conversations.
Mhm.
I mean, ideally, I'd still like to maintain a baseline friendship with him because we do have a child together. Granted, that child is grown and is an adult, but there will be things going forward in their life that we both may want to be involved in, and it would be nice to be able to do that in a civil manner.
They'll always be. So, yeah.
Yeah, civility does not presuppose friendship.
Right.
Just doesn't.
Right.
I mean, and here's the thing, because I have this same problem with Gizmo. I've said this before. Your relationship with your child is your responsibility. It is not his responsibility. And he doesn't affect that relationship. And so neither, by the way, do you affect his relationship with his child. Civility does not play into a necessity to be friends with a person because of that experience. It just doesn't.
So Pat is asking a question. If he's willing to have the conversations, would setting boundaries first help? So the problem I've run into with that is that we did set boundaries right off the get-go. You know, our first conversation, me starting to come out, us figuring out what our relationship was going to look like. The problem that I've been encountering is that I cannot anticipate all of the boundaries that I need to set in this scenario. Because every time I think I'm good, I've set the boundary that I need to set, there's another boundary that I didn't think of, and he's crossing into territory that I'm not comfortable with. So like we initially, when we first decided that, all right, we are living together, but we are separate, we're kind of doing our own thing, you know, whatever. We're not, there's no expectation of a physical relationship between the two of us. The very next day, he comes to me with conversations about how he's going to be hooked up with his best friend's cousin, or no, his best friend's ex's cousin or baby mama's cousin. I don't know. It was confusing. And talking about how now he has to go out and buy condoms. Like, oh, well, that's not a conversation I was prepared to have. Yeah.
Why would you? I don't know, Brandon.
So is he's talking to like you're a friend of his now, like a buddy? He's just confiding things in?
I guess. I've since then established the boundary
So
that I don't want to know about anything that goes on with his dating life or any of that. Like, I don't care if he's seeing anybody. That's fine. I just don't want to hear about it.
Is it?
that's one thing I was going to ask, if you had that conversation where you're like, okay, I interested in being one of your buddies that
Yeah.
you talk about these kinds of.
It's not out of jealousy, is it? No, it's just more out of not wanting to hear about it.
No, I just don't want to hear about it.
Oh.
Like, because it starts to feel like he's saying these things in an effort to elicit a response.
Right.
And I just get tired of that.
Well, Lee Hamilton even raises that issue. He sounds like the
I'll
typical.
be right back. Somebody's knocking at my door.
Oh, okay. So Lee raises the question. He sounds like the typical controlling, gaslighting person. And I'm going to be honest, this person, I'll say this again when she gets back, but I literally could imagine this person going out, having a good time, ending up at some girl's house, banging the shit out of her, and then coming home and walking up to Sarah and going, oh, by the way, you know what? Went over to wherever, did this. Fuck, that was awesome. And that's not an appropriate boundary to cross.
That he really would do that?
I would not be surprised. I'll put it that way. I've had enough conversations about this person. Those are things that would not shock me at all. And, I'm with Cynthia, that's abusive. Which I have problems with that. I have severe problems with that. Which again, I mean, that goes back to intimacy redefinition. Now, let me just say, intimacy redefinition does not mean inclusive redefinition. Intimacy redefinition says, I only like this genital and you don't have that, go the fuck away. That's still intimacy redefinition. And it's a sacrifice too that is unilateral between two parties in a relationship. But sharing that kind of shit is not okay. It isn't.
No.
Especially if you've already told him that you don't want to hear those kinds of things.
Right.
Basically, you have to. Yeah, you've boundary, and the only thing, I don't know, the only thing you can do, I guess, is continue to repeat those boundaries. And if he doesn't adhere to them, then you're going to have to distance yourself even more than you already are, or cut off that relationship eventually if it doesn't stop.
Well, to be clear, when I set a boundary, he does adhere to it. The problem is not knowing what boundaries I need to set until he's already crossed them.
Yeah.
So like there were a couple that were no-brainers. Like, neither one of us brings anybody home because I didn't want our child to be exposed to anybody that we might have a relationship with. So, and I didn't want either of us to have to come face to face with that either. So just I wanted the household to be neutral as possible.
I think
So I guess
that you
one
have-
way.
Oh, go on, Brandon.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
What I think one way to, because okay, so you go into the situation. There are some boundaries that you don't know that you have to set because something's up. Is there a way that you can like write down some more general what do I want to say? Not boundaries, but oh my gosh, what is kind of ideals or
Guidelines.
you know what I'm trying to say? Kind of, yeah, like values that you have set. Like I have these values. I don't want him to destroy or negate these values. And if kind of because values are a little more general, and maybe like certain situations probably would cross into one of these more general values, and it might be more prepared for when he does come with a particular situation. Okay, this situation fits into or cross negates this value that I have, and how to deal with that, because I've already thought about how I want to deal with that particular value that I've established for myself. Does that make any sense? Am I making, it's kind of, I know what I want to say in my mind. Is that coming?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Does that make sense to you, Sarah?
I mean, it does. I don't know that it makes sense in practice for me.
So when we're talking about value negotiation against boundary setting as a relative, you start by saying, okay, what are my core values? I value respect, authenticity, emotional well-being, and physical well-being. And then you articulate your boundaries step by step that maintain those. So using your chosen name, avoiding intimate details, limiting conversation length. That conversation length is a big one. Like, if you're going to tell me stuff, you have 10 minutes. You don't get it out in 10 minutes, that makes the likelihood that a boundary is going to get broken in that conversation. And I'm not going to let that happen.
That's why that door stays closed. The number of times he has just parked himself in it and just unloaded about work.
Right.
And I'm trapped.
You have 10 minutes. After that, the door shuts and I'm not talking anymore because you're going to violate it. But you frame those adjustments by saying, I'm meeting you halfway by agreeing to these boundaries. And I'm negotiating those boundaries. If you're not going to follow that, then it's not amicable. You're not being flexible. You're asking me to bend over backwards to make you happy. That's bullshit.
No, like I said, when I set a boundary, he abides by it. It's just anticipating where the next boundary is that needs to be set.
And maybe heading that off. I mean, if you do have to have interactions with them, and if you do maintain a civil type of relationship because of your child, having a conversation with them about what does respect look like to me? What if you do these things that would constitute disrespect? You know, make examples, that kind of thing. Is that feasible?
Probably to an extent. It's going to take a lot of sitting and thinking.
Yeah.
I'm reading Lee Hamilton's prepared responses.
They're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, so Lee, what you have said is disrespectful. Stop. Yes, that's a reasonable expectation. What you just did offends me. Stop. I don't accept your behavior.
Perfect. Yeah.
Those are all things that, yes, when dealing with this situation where you are trying to emotionally re-navigate and intimately re-navigate an entire aspect of your relationship, then yes, those are valid statements. And those are things you're going to have to say to people. The real hard part about this is it doesn't happen just in the nature of relationships that you are in at the time. It happens to every other relationship that you have going forward. You know, I'm sure, Brandon, you have experienced a variety of, boundary violations in dating relationships, as I have. You talk to the person and go, I'm a bottom. Guess what's not going to happen? And then 3 dates later, it's, are you going to, we talked about this already. No.
Yeah, some people want what they want, and they don't care about what somebody else wants, or their preferences or boundaries or anything. It's all about them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, but that's a sacrifice, another sacrifice, yet again, that you make to put yourself into that pool to try to find somebody you can have an intimate relationship with. And then it becomes a further attenuation of that is, what are you willing to sacrifice to keep that relationship?
What are you willing to sacrifice to get the relationship to begin with? You know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because not everybody's going to be perfect and going to fit your ideal of, the perfect partner. So you might go online and you'll see list of qualifications, if you will. They'll talk about what their job is and their or whatever, and you might look at it and say, oh, I like all of these things, but I'm not so sure about one. Is this something you're willing to say? How big of a deal is it to you? Are you open to trying new things, or is it something that's a whole? I think there's a lot of that when I look at the different dating profiles and whatnot. It's like, and sometimes I'll swipe left for silly things, and I probably should look at it, but sometimes it'll like just a name. Like, I'm not gonna have sex with somebody named Jesus. I'm sorry. That's just I just can't.
Unless his name is Jesus.
Right. But still, when I see that, I'm like, oh. I was raised in a religious household. It's like I can't do it.
if Jesus is going to come and sign me, can he at least do it a couple of times?
Please, Jesus.
Please, Jesus. I want you inside me. I want to let you in.
My doors are open.
Oh, God, that makes my sides hurt. I'm going to start crying. Oh. But yeah, I mean, I agree with your point, Brandon. I agree 100%. Yeah, a name. I mean, I try to sort of look past that, but if your name is something I can't deal with, then I'm not gonna do that. But I'm a demisexual.
Hey, Demis.
Yeah, I'm a demisexual and a sapiosexual, and so
Oh, great.
yeah, you have to have it upstairs, and I have to have an emotional connection with you before I can fuck you. And so that severely limits the playing field for what I'm willing to sacrifice when having a relationship with somebody versus not, which is why that one, the person behind my monitor, has my attention because I am severely emotionally attracted to her and I am severely intelligently attracted to her.
Same with Ed.
And so those are sacrifices in those capacities I am not willing to make.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I have to have an emotional connection, and
Oh.
I have to have an intelligent connection. I can't do the other. Fuck that. No way.
And people come down on sapiosexuals. They say it's not a real identity or something like that. But I don't care what it's called. If you can't match my intelligence, then there's a chance we're not going to get along.
I think that's one of the big problems I ran into with Joe. Is we aren't matched well at all on intelligence.
So you're saying he's not as smart as you?
He doesn't have interest in anything that I find intellectually challenging.
That's a nice way to put it.
Can I just make an analogy? And you promise not to judge me by making this analogy?
Okay.
I imagine your relationship with this person to be the heterosexual version of a Jay and Silent Bob relationship where you happen to be Bob. And where the other person in your relationship is the person that says pussy all the time.
That's way too accurate.
Clerks too. I mean, what do you bring to the proceeding? Pussy. That's how I see your relationship with this person, and I would not be able to have a relationship with that person. It would not. Ugh. No. Sorry. Brandon, you do know who Jay and Silent Bob are, right?
I'm familiar.
I was going to say the only thing I know them from is Dogma, and I love that movie.
Oh, no. You should watch the movie Clerks 2.
And Clerks. Sure.
Yeah, Clerks and Clerks. Don't watch Clerks 3. That movie was a bullshit piece of shit that should never have happened. The Clerks series should have ended with Clerks 2, and that's it. But watch those movies. I guarantee you will understand exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. 100%. Just realize you're making a sacrifice to watch that movie because there's going to be a shit ton of humor in the movie that you cannot tolerate, including Kinky Kelly and the Sexy Stud.
Humor that I can't tolerate. You're making assumptions.
Right.
Well, just keep in mind that whatever you're suggesting that I watch is going to be watched with my child. So,
oh, your child should definitely watch that movie. Yeah.
Child is an adult.
my child is 20 years old.
No,
Okay.
no. I let my 16-year-old watch that movie.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. Because everybody should watch a chick and donkey show.
I guess I'll understand that after I watch the movie.
Oh, yes, you will. Oh, yes, you will. Oh, yes, you will. All I gotta say is, hey, Kelly is a guy's name too. Hey.
I'm guessing I should also probably take a gummy or two before I watch it.
Gummies are.
We're at least being funny on Trauma Talk. I only had one other point to your assertion of sacrifice, and we can finish with that, if you're okay with that, Sarah.
Yeah.
And that's legacy and representation. And so by that I mean by living openly as a trans, queer, gay, lesbian person, that creates a pathway for people in the future. And so the sacrifice lies in bearing the weight of that representation now, often without adequate support, but the payoff is a broader cultural shift. Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson back in the 80s had the same issue. They were queer and trans, and Stonewall was going on. And as far as I know, those two bitches fought over who threw the first brick, which one of them was the one that did it. But there is a broader scope of an effective, by living authentically, we sacrifice living authentically while we're dealing with the shit that we're dealing with, so that people in the future would be positively affected or understand that there is positivity.
I know.
Sacrifice.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, sorry. I know there's a delay, so it's like one of us starts and the other one is like, there's sacrifice in the opposite direction also while you're in the closet, sacrificing your mental health, and you're depressed and not living openly, and that too, living in the closet is a large sacrifice.
It takes a toll on your mental health, which is indeed a sacrifice. You're sacrificing your body, your mind, and your soul, all to keep a tiny or this major part of you hidden away, so you don't feel the brunt of that. You know.
Yeah. And sorry, you were to say something?
I kind of forgot, and that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
Nah.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
Oh, wait, sacrifice. So, in terms of, I've had, so when I came out in 2015, there were not a lot of trans people that I knew, whether in person, but I've had a lot of people come up and tell me indirectly that people they know because of me have come out, have, come out as trans, come out as queer, but it was something where I had to put my face out there and my neck out there and sacrifice, my safety for other people to see, well, maybe living authentically is where it's at. And so, yeah, it's a big sacrifice for anybody who's queer to have to come out over and over and over and over again. But the reward is, to me at least, is that you get to see, like you said, Wendy, future generations coming out with ease and not with the same stigma.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Because that stigma sucks,
Well,
like hugely. It sucks, and in not at all a positive way. So, all right, Sarah, closing thoughts.
I guess that everything requires some form of sacrifice, and you have to determine whether it's positive or negative, or if it's worth it to you personally.
I would agree. I would agree utterly and wholeheartedly. Brandon, Onyx,
took the
closing
words
thoughts.
out. 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar. If you're going to sacrifice something, you need to decide whether or not it's worth it.
Right. And if it is, go through with it 100%. Make sure your sacrifice means something.
Yep.
I would agree. All right. Who's going to do the next one? I think Onyx has to do the next one.
I mean,
I will do
yeah,
it.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah. Monday, I think you have to do the next one.
Okay, I will come up with a topic.
Oh, I cannot wait. Oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Everybody else that was watching, thank you for coming to the session. Thank you for watching. Live session again tonight at 7:45. If I have it in me, it's been a long day, but I probably will because I want to bitch about other shit. Now I can make fun of Sarah some more, and I want to do that anyway. So Jill, come back later this evening, 7:30 or whatever. And maybe think about logging into the call because I really want to get to the Brady Bunch. I want to get to the Brady Bunch. I haven't gotten to the Brady Bunch yet, and that sucks.
Oh, wait, can I say, I see that Jill says Senate wants to kill gummies. They did just pass the law that blocks now the 2018 Farm Bill. So any kind of THC or anything like that is going to be illegal within a year. They have 365 days to enact that law. Any other THC like gummies, THCA gummies, anything like that. So illegal states only. Legal states, y'all are cool. You know, your dispensaries in your mom and pop shops will be fine. But for illegal states where we get THCA, that will be illegal in 365 days. Just a heads up.
So like Delta 8 too, right?
Delta 8 too, yeah.
Well, I got a plug, so I'm not worried.
Yep, you know, keep your plugs. They treat you right.
Yeah. All right. Back at 7:45, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Peace and chicken grease.
Yep.